know I've been off for a few weeks. It's the summertime, though. Everybody should take some time off to do some other things. Plus, election season is around the corner, and y'all gonna be inundated with a whole lot of stuff. But I've been on some other shows. I don't know if you guys caught it or not. I did a little debate with one of our good friends, Republican Curtis Hill. Yeah, that didn't quite go very well for the former Attorney General. From what I understand, I kind of served him a little bit of lunch that day. But you know what? These people are running around talking about critical race theory and all of this, and they don't even know what it is. They're not even sure what they're talking about. All I know is that when it's all said and done, people are just all up in arms about nothing because they're not even teaching critical race theory in school. In fact, I talked to Representative or Councilwoman Jocelyn Fair out of Fishers today, and we are going to schedule some time because I don't know if you know it or not. Up in Hamilton Southeastern, in Hamilton County, they are just going berserk over this critical race theory. Again, all of this is just Republicans, getting all up in arms, trying to get the base all riled up. Because we don't want to teach our kids about what the heck really has been going on in the world. We want to keep on sugarcoating it and pretending like this thing ain't a thing. But it is a thing. It is a thing, and there's nothing wrong with studying it, but we're not teaching it in school. This is a graduate level study, but we're going to have that conversation later. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole anymore. Not today anyway. So I've been, I've been checking out the news and kind of paying attention to what's going on. And over the last several weeks, we've had a lot of things happen. First of all, let's just start with our new Attorney General, Tyra Keita. Poor guy. I don't know. He just seems to like hearing the word no. He likes to hear no, hell no, hell no, get on out of here with that. He made an appeal to the Supreme Court to overrule the Marion County's ruling on whether or not he should be the sole person that can bring a court case for the state of Indiana, challenging Governor Holcomb. And the Supreme Court 5-0 says, sit your behind down. You don't get none of that. That's not your job, dude. Sit down. But he must like hearing the word no, because he keeps running around trying to do stuff that ain't his job. It's not his job. He needs to be doing his job. I need him to go get all that money those private schools and those online schools stole from us. That's what I need you to focus in on. It seems like you can only do one thing at a time, maybe, not even well. But he's not the only one that's like bugging me the heck out lately. I mean, y'all know me. I try to do all of my shows with love. I want to make sure everybody understands that no matter what you do, no matter how you engage people, you have to do it with love. But you know what? My cup runneth over with all of the nonsense that we are hearing about over the last couple of weeks. Can we just start with the fact that you have all of these folks running around talking about they're not getting the vaccine because they don't know what's in it, and it's against their civil rights and all of that other stuff? Well, first of all, they wouldn't have been able to spell civil rights had they not had the vaccine to go to elementary school. Vaccines are not new. They've been around for a long time. Now listen, your body do what you want to do, but don't get mad when you see the sign on the business that says no shoots, I can't even speak. I'm so excited about it. No shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. Don't get in your feelings when you find out that you can't go on that trip to Cancun because you ain't been vaccinated. See, you can do whatever you want to with your body, and I hope you stand up for women when they're arguing for their reproductive rights while you're talking about it. When you can do that, but you do not have the right to harm me. Now, I also know that there are certain people out there who cannot, for medical reasons, get the vaccination, but those folks seem to be continuing to wear their mask. They recognize why they can't get it. They're not doing, vaccinated things. D.L. Hughley said, unvaccinated people running around doing vaccinated things. I'm going to need them to cut that out. Then on top of that, not only do they not want to get the vaccine, they don't even want to wear the mask. Florida's governor DeSantis, I don't know if he just really wants to like stir up all of the, I'm going to call them intellectually challenged individuals. I'm not going to call people by a bad name. But the state of Florida right now, CNN just reported this. The state of Florida right now leads the nation in the number of adults and children admitted to the hospital with confirmed cases of COVID-19. And this guy, the governor of Florida, gets on television pretty much, doing a hold down, showdown with President Biden talking about, I'll be your roadblock. I mean, you know what, dog? You don't have to worry about voter suppression because you're just going to kill off all your voters. Because the rest of us going to be vaccinated. The rest of the people that got some sense are going to be vaccinated. I don't understand this notion of let's kill off our voting base. Because those of us on the other side ain't listening to him. We're not listening to him. We know better. And oh, by the way, all you anti-vaxxers, you do realize there have been over 165 million Americans that have been vaccinated. And the issues that have come from that, the side effects that have come from that have been 0.09%, I do believe. So this vaccine, although not perfect, there is no vaccine that's 100%. It's about 94% effective. It's about 94% effective. But if you don't want to get the vaccine and you don't want to wear the mask and you live in a state where the governor says, who cares that kids are now being admitted to the hospital? Who cares? No big deal. I am going to stand with you because I enjoy manipulating people when I don't know science myself. Heck, even here in Indianapolis on the west side, Lew Wallace Elementary School had to send 84 kids home. 84 kids home because a staff member was around someone with COVID. Y'all, let's stop the dumb stuff, right? Let's just cut it out. I'm gonna need all the intelligent people to get involved and stop listening to these people. And listen, foolishness hasn't been just limited, unfortunately, to the right. Y'all know me. I don't typically take digs at Democrats because it's kind. You can't insult a thing and then invite people to the thing because then they be like, well, you just got through dogging it out. Why should I come do your thing? But can we talking about Governor Cuomo for just a minute? I have never seen someone accused of behaving poorly with staff and with people and then show video evidence of his behavior. I'm gonna need him to realize how foolish he looks. And I don't know. I don't know why he did that. I don't know why he decided it was a good idea to show a montage of how much he kisses and gropes and hugs and touches people. Get out of people's personal space. I'm a hugger and I know it, but first thing I do is I say to people, I'm a hugger. Is it all right? And if they tell me no, I'll back the heck up. You don't just put your hands on people. Stop it. But that's what we got going on right now. We got a lot of nonsense happening, a lot of people not thinking. And it's frustrating because I know that there are smart and intelligent people out here really wanting to do the right thing. But they keep listening to people who are trying to manipulate them. I mean, Tucker Carlson called Officer Dunn, who testified on July 27th at the Capitol Riots January 6th insurrection hearing, called him an angry left-wing political activist. What? This man was trying to defend people, and you gonna call him names? Enough of the foolishness, y'all. Don't be telling me that you down with law enforcement and back to blue, and there's 4 dudes right there that were telling you about how they were being traumatized, and you mocked them. Y'all, I'm gonna need the humans with some feelings to stand up, and let's get some realness going on here, because what are we teaching people? What are we showing the world? That we are down with violent insurrections, and if it for somehow or another fails, the people who are injured, well, they just drama queens. That broke foot, that gouged eye, that heart attack or stroke they suffered, they just over dramatizing. They need to stop that. They need to stop that. And I don't even know why people are listening to them. All right, listen, y'all. In Indiana, we talk about all the time that we need to do something about redistricting. I want you guys to understand that there's going to be redistricting hearings all over the state tomorrow, August the 6th, and through the weekend. So listen to me carefully. I want you to hear these carefully. Redistricting in the north, Friday, August the 6th, Lafayette, Indiana, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Valparaiso from 3 p.m. to 5. Saturday, they'll be in Fort Wayne from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, and then Goshen from 4 p.m. To 6 p.m. Friday, August the 6th, also in Anderson. I don't understand why they put Anderson in the South. Anderson is not in the South. 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Columbus, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm going to post all these. I'm not going to read them all, but I'm going to post them. I'm going to just go ahead and put them in the comments section. And then you guys go and sit in these meetings, right? Go in there and find out what these people are talking about, because we're not going to win any seats back if we don't know what's going on when it comes to this redistricting. All right. Quick advertising. Have you guys thought about advertising with the Schmidt report? I know a lot of you candidates out there are getting ready to rev up. One way that you can definitely get your message out each morning in our daily newsletter is to advertise with the Schmidt report. The Schmidt Report on our website, indianatalks.com, and Schmidt Report, be heard throughout the day on shows like the Tom Horton program, the Stephanie Miller Show, Democracy Now!, My Labor Radio, Bring It On, Turn Left, and the Schmidt Report with Gary Snyder. Listen, Democrats, we have a network. Let's use it. Let's utilize it and get our message out. You can contact Gary Snyder at gary@indianatalks.com or give him a call. 260-479-7006. So, and tell him Indiana's Own sent you, because you know what? I love making sure my man gets on and you guys get on with him, because there's a lot going on. Let's make sure we get our messages out. All right. Hey, listen, I'm excited about this guest tonight because one of the most untapped resources in our party, in my opinion, is the senior community. The senior community has a boatload of a little bit more time than us working people who are working, raising kids or taking care of our parents or whatever it is. We have less time to get involved, but our senior community has a little bit more time, and they have a little bit more experience, and they've seen a thing or two that we can all probably learn from. So tonight I'm excited to bring to you a conversation with my man, Randy, who is the president of the Indiana Democratic Senior Caucus. He's a friend, and he is someone that is willing to roll up his sleeves. He doesn't get tired, and he is constantly pushing to make sure that seniors are heard in our party. See, I've been bringing y'all all these caucuses because I don't care where you live, where you come from, there's a place for you in our party. Y'all give it up to my man, president of the Indiana Democratic Senior Caucus, Randy Schmidt. Randy, welcome to the show.
Wow. I'm sitting here listening to all this and going, I want to say something. Oh, man, I am honored and so happy to be on your show. Folks, Dana Black rules. This is wonderful. It really is. I'm a kid who grew up in the 60s and 70s, and as you went into what you told me earlier was your rant, I kept wanting to jump up with my fists in the air and go, right on, sister, right on.
Well, if you want to come, before we get into the conversation about the caucus, if you want to chime in on anything that I talked about tonight, feel free.
Oh, God, where would I start? There's about 10 topics there, and each one of those I could probably go on for about an hour. You know, as I listen to that, and every day I keep thinking about Eddie Gowd Jr., who I'm sure everyone, you certainly know, and probably people listening to your show know, is the professor of American Studies at Princeton University and wrote a great bio on James Baldwin. And he has been on TV lately, on MSNBC and and CNN, and he coined this great phrase. He calls, we're living in a time of rolling civic power outages.
Ooh.
And to me, that just states it better than anything else. I'm going to steal it. I will attribute it. But that is just, that's exactly what is happening. And it's the way I look at it, rolling civic power outages. Uh, I lived through a time when there was great positive change when I was a kid. Um, I grew up in a very conservative right wing family.
Oh,
In 1964, I was 10 years old, and my parents were campaigning for Barry Goldwater for president, if you can believe that.
yeah.
Uh, and I actually had a pennant hanging on my bedroom wall that said AUH2O in 64, and AUH2O is Goldwater.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, in chemistry,
okay.
AU Goldwater, yeah. But when I reached the age of what do they call it? The age of reason, I think the psychologists call it, around 12, 13, and I started to think for myself. And wow, I just was. The parents weren't happy, but there was this transformation that took place on just about every topic under the sun, and I just didn't agree with hardly anything they were saying anymore.
Right.
And I was really kind of too late for the civil rights movement. I mean, I was aware of it happening, but I was kind of still a kid
Right.
when all that was going on. So it was kind of like background information. But it wasn't until I hit high school and was realizing that I was going to have to go fight a war in Southeast Asia
Wow.
and that I would be drafted that I became really politically conscious and got involved in the anti-war movement over Vietnam in southern Wisconsin. But and that just built from there. I got involved in the labor movement through.
Ah.
Well, I got introduced kind of through my wife, who was a very much a Democrat. I mean, big time Democrat. I was when I got married. I got married at the age of 19, and I was still calling myself an independent at that point. I was having a hard time, you know,
Well, I
getting rid of
mean,
all this baggage from my childhood and my parents and all that. And she was a real Democrat. I mean, she talked about how when she was a little kid, same age as me, um, JFK, John Kennedy, during the primary process back in those days, which is, we could talk about that, was completely different from what we think of as primaries today. But he came to southern Wisconsin, where I was growing up,
mm,
and landed in an airport at the Rock County Airport in southern Wisconsin. And my father in law, who was a union organizer, put my wife, who was would have been 10 years old, like me, but didn't weigh too much, up on his shoulders so that she could see him come down off the airplane.
wow.
And she always talks about all that kind of stuff, and did. And she, I'd hate to say that I was proselytized by my wife, but I was well on the way.
But you know what? Real talk, happy wife, happy life. So, you
Yeah.
you were gonna have to acquiesce at some point.
That's right. But anyway, yeah, rolling civic power outages, because that period in which I grew up was a period of positive change in
Yeah.
all kinds of areas. And it really felt like, uh, through my 20s, it really felt like things were changing for the good, and that there was some uh, almost utopia that was out there calling to us, and that we could get there someday, and all the ancient evils, you know, amongst peoples would be destroyed. But man,
Well, do you still have, you've been around a minute, so do you still have that level of optimism?
I no,
Oh.
I am deeply, deeply concerned, because it almost seems like for each step forward, we take two back in just all kinds of ways. I can't believe what's happened to the American labor movement, which I'm
Right.
still involved with. Uh, when I moved from Wisconsin to Indiana in 1986 and followed my job with General Motors, and ultimately became the president of Local 2209, which still exists and is thriving, building General Motors pickup trucks in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But the labor movement, when I was a kid, over half of the workforce was unionized.
Yeah.
And now we're down, at least in the private sector, less than 10%.
Yeah.
And the thing about the union movement that people need to understand is they think it's all about better pay and benefits and all that. And of course that's
It's key,
involved.
right?
Yeah. But the real thing about the labor movement is it is the extension of civil rights and human rights and democracy into the workplace. Because
Right.
if you don't have a union, all those rights that we all seem to think we have disappear at the front door. And in the labor lingo, they call that employment at will.
Yeah.
And if you complain to the boss is completely within his rights to say, "Hey, bub, there's the front door.
You're out of
Bye-bye."
here.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you don't have a right to protest. But if you have a union, you have a legal right under the National Labor Relations Act to not only express your grievances to the boss without repercussion or threats of repercussion, but you have the ability to elect a representative from amongst your peers to represent you when you go in to talk
Yeah.
to the boss.
Yeah. It's we're better in numbers. I mean, but what drives me crazy is that just like we have and we've configured young minds, and I'm gonna say it like that because I don't know how else to say it, that unions are bad. All unions do are take people's money, and they don't. That's all they want to do is take their union dues, but they don't have the same vitriol for bad businesses. Look what Amazon just did down in Alabama,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, literally, it was like a 1920s, 1950s union busting
Yeah.
thing that they did.
Well, what you have is you've had for decades, really as far back as you want to go in human civilization, what you have is ordinary working people battling the folks that run the joint,
Yeah,
and they're the wealthy.
yeah,
And in today's world, it's corporations.
yeah.
Uh,
And we're not
but
saying that corporations shouldn't be successful because we get the importance of, someone coming up with a great idea, having that entrepreneurial spirit. But even when you have these great ideas and you have that entrepreneurial spirit, you trying to grow your business, you need people to help facilitate your ideas. And I've never known anybody to want to just do something for people who just don't treat them right.
yeah, and all it is it's the right to talk. It's the
Yeah.
right to elect your representatives. It's the right to bargain collectively. It's really not much more than extending your democratic rights
Into
the
the workplace.
That's
And
all
and
it is.
the other thing that see like Morning Joe this morning, over the last couple of weeks he's really been ticking me off. I mean like above and beyond because he's literally blaming the teachers union for kids not being back in school or schools not opening up. He literally for 2 weeks was blaming the teachers union. He didn't blame these parents who don't even want their kids to wear masks. Forget about the vaccination, but they had to get those other vaccinations before they can go, right? They forget about that. But he literally spent all his time blaming the teachers union to the point where one of the representatives was on the show this morning. She was like, "Why are y'all scapegoating teachers?" And I was so glad because it was like people don't have a problem, bashing labor and labor unions, but labor unions are the reason why any of these white collar people get to participate and enjoy the life that they have because the rules were set for everybody. So everybody gets vacation time. If your salary, obviously you're not going to get any overtime, but you on salary. So if you take the day off, you still getting paid. What you tripping on? So I mean, it just drives me nuts, Randy, when I hear all of these people bashing unions when we wouldn't have a lot of the safety, the OSHA standards that we have. 10-year-olds would be still working in coal mines.
Nothing. That's right. You wouldn't have any of those things. It was
No.
the union movement that fought with direct action, directly in the workplace, and through political action that established the weekend. You wouldn't have a weekend.
You wouldn't have a weekend.
You wouldn't have vacations. The captains of industry back in the 30s used to complain about that demand for vacations because it was like, you mean you want me to pay my people when they're not at work?
Yeah, it's
I'm
crazy.
not going to do that.
I mean,
and yet we think that things like holidays off and vacations off and the weekends off and overtime and all these things came about magically as
yes.
gifts.
like Lucky
from
Charms.
companies, and yeah, and it wasn't. It was fought and fought and fought, and and again, when in the 1970s, when I was in my early 20s, the ratio of highest paid to lowest paid in corporate America was about 30 to 1. In
Hmm.
other words, the person who swept the floors, what they paid him, at the bottom of the rung in the company, versus the CEO that ran the place, was about 30 to 1. Today it's over 300
100 to 1.
to 1.
And if you
And
do
that's because of the decline in the union movement.
absolutely. And if you want to know what fight, right, for all these non-union believers, what fight is in the forefront every day right now that had if a lot of these locations, a lot of these businesses had collective bargaining, when we talk about how women are making 70 cents to men and black women are making 63 cents to white men and Hispanics are making 60 cents to white men. When you have collective bargaining, that's out the window.
That's
We
right.
are really we're literally fighting for equal pay for equal work. But when you have a union and you have a collective bargaining, that's out the window. Everybody got to get paid the same.
That's right.
But see,
I've worked for General Motors for 31 years with a UAW contract, national and local contracts, and all our folks, black, white, male, female, we all made the same amount of money. We all had the same benefits. In fact, we have active civil rights committees that are part of our agreements with management, so that when any problems arise, and they always arise,
yeah, they do.
we have joint civil rights committees to explore those problems and work together on health and safety. When there are health and safety problems, you don't read about in the newspaper how there was this huge accident in the workplace. It's
Absolutely.
taken care of beforehand by joint labor management committees on health and safety. That's the kind of world you want to have. But I don't know what it is. It's particularly in the USA that has always made it so tough. When I talked about my wife, we went to high school together, and when we were going to high school, her father was a union organizer. He was a firefighter,
Hmm.
and at that point there was very little in the way of public unions, but there were some public unions and firefighters, and he was in southern Wisconsin, and he formed, organized, and became the first president of local. Oh, and I can't remember the local. Well, I don't remember.
Yeah.
A long time ago,
Long time ago.
about 1970 or thereabouts.
Oh, that was the year
And
I was born.
oh wow! And I remember there were kids in our class that literally spat upon my wife
Oh,
and called her a socialist and a communist and everything else
jeez.
because her dad was trying to organize this horrible union so that firefighters wouldn't show up and put out the fire in
Oh
their
my
house.
goodness. Well, listen. Before we change the subject, since we've been on this the union conversation, we got to give a shout out to Richard Trumpka.
Yes.
Am I saying that right? Trumpka,
Yes.
who passed away today. He was born July 24th, 1949. He died today. He was a long time prominent U.S. labor leader for AFL-CIO. So, we lost a good one, and the fight continues. He laid the groundwork, and it's now time for us to continue the work. So, and I'm glad we spent some time talking about labor because that's one of my loves. I was in a union. My daddy was in a union. I wouldn't have what I've had it not been for labor unions providing an opportunity. But tonight's show is about my seniors.
Ah, okay.
And I tell you, I'm closer to being a senior than not. So this is, but I think one of the reasons why I'm excited about this conversation, because Randy, first of all, you got all the energy in the world. And I think I know when I was younger, I had this rude misconception about older people. And now that I'm older people, I'm like, man, I got that all wrong. Talk about the Senior Caucus and how you founded that organization.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I was an early retiree. Thanks again to the UAW. They negotiated early retirement packages, and I was able to take advantage of that and had planned on doing that. And I retired at age 52, if you can believe
Ooh.
that.
That would mean
And
I
I have
would be able to retire next year. No,
there you go. And I have been living happily ever after ever since.
that's dope.
Uh, yeah, and so that's kind of when I made the switch. In the UAW, retirees are still members of the union. We still pay a specific dues structure and all that, and are still involved. And I had been involved in the labor movement, but I started getting sucked into the senior activist organizations that existed at the time too. I had a number of friends within the labor movement that had retired and were working on a number of good friends working
Sure.
on all that. And so they kind of dragged me into that, and I got involved with the Alliance for Retired Americans,
Okay.
uh, which was formed about 2 decades ago. What we did is we formed a bunch of other disparate groups that were involved in senior issues and created the alliance. And I started going to their meetings, and it was eventually selected to join their board, and uh, and ultimately was elected to be the first president for the Alliance for Retired Americans Educational Fund, which is
Okay.
our 501c4, which is for political related organizations. We also have another sister organization, which is a 501c3, but you have to weave and dodge your way through the nonprofit uh, legislation that's out there.
Mhm.
So, so I am the president of that. The National Alliance for Retired Americans. We're in 39 states and have 4.4 million dues-paying members,
Uh,
and
I'm
we
sorry.
keep
How many?
4.4 million
Whew.
in 39 states. Yeah,
Whew.
and we lobby and try to activate our members on all kinds of issues, not just that relate to seniors, although
Mhm.
that's primarily the focus, but just like with our senior caucus, which I'll talk about in a second, our senior caucus's motto, by the way, is fighting for security and progress for all generations.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's really important because, I made a speech just the other day to a group of retirees and about the senior caucus and the Alliance for Retired Americans and so on. And I said, the interesting thing is that there are a lot of groups that I am involved with, like, and am a member of, like, just for example, the NAACP and the A. Philip Randolph Institute. I'm a member of the local chapter board for the Randolph Institute. But I I am and always have been a white boy. I'm not black. I'm never going to be black. I'm not a woman. I'm never going to become a woman. At least I don't think so.
I
Nowadays,
mean,
I
you
don't
can if
know.
you want. I
I
mean,
can if I want now, right? Yeah. But the interesting thing about being retired and being a senior is everybody's going to become part of our group
yeah.
sooner or later.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you may not think so, but sooner or later, you're going to be part
If
of
you're
our
lucky.
organization.
If
If you
if
don't die first, yeah,
if
you
you're
don't die.
lucky.
Yeah, and so when we fight, for example, when we fight for things like Social Security and preserving Social Security, improving it, honestly, we're really fighting for younger people. We're fighting for you and the generations coming up behind you because the Republicans, which are trying to tear this down and always have been from day one, uh, they're not after us because they know that if they really went after us, existing retirees, they wouldn't be able to get elected. So they leave us alone. They're going after new retirees. They want to change the retirement date to 67 or
Mhm.
70 or 80 or God knows what. They're going after young people so that those programs that I've been able to take advantage of, like Medicare,
Mhm.
like Social Security, won't be for them.
Yeah.
So when we fight for these programs, and we do like crazy, we're fighting for you guys and younger people, younger than
Yeah.
you, so
Yeah.
that these programs still exist for younger generations. So that's our focus. But as for the creation of the Indiana Democratic Senior Caucus, it just came about because a former chair of the Democratic Party, Dan Parker, uh, was a big advocate for the constituency caucuses.
Okay.
There's been groups that have been for and against constituency caucuses in Indiana in the Democratic Party. I don't quite understand it. I came from a blue state, and I know a lot of people from other blue states where this is just not only accepted, it's like part of the strategy to win elections. That
Well, some
you
people
build.
don't like they think that their district votes are being watered down.
Yes, it's that. It's a
You know.
personal agenda kind of thing that, rather than saying, what can we do to win elections? Are there any strategies we should
Yeah.
emulate, Breezy?
I
It's
don't,
like,
yeah,
oh
I don't
no.
understand that, especially when you consider that maybe, the vast majority of people of color, and the diversity are in maybe 3 of the 9 districts. I mean, so
Yeah.
you're limiting access to all of these different groups. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we saw what was going on, particularly during that period of time. I had worked very closely with one of the first organizers for the Latino Caucus, um, which had started when Dan Parker was chair, and there was an atmosphere uh, at that time during that period to open the party's arms at the state level to more constituency caucuses. And recently, that hasn't quite been the case. Although
Mm,
I'm very optimistic about what's
optimistic.
going on with our new chair, Mike Schmuel. He has talked many times about wanting to pattern the state Democratic Party after the DNC, the national party, where
Good,
they're a
good.
very active senior council structure. And they recently added a women's council to the
Yep,
structure of the
yep.
IDP. So, I take the man at his word. So, we're going to keep asking to be invited to the table because, as the old saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu.
Baby, say
And
that again.
so, we hope that we're going to have the senior caucus, which has existed formally. In 2016, we got together and we said, "Hey, look, it looks like this is our time." So we went through all the things you're supposed to do. We wrote bylaws, which almost exactly mirror the bylaws of IDAC and the Latino Caucus and the YDs that preceded us. We elected our officers. We registered as a Democratic Party political committee with the Indiana Election Commission, and we have a small but actual treasury. We have a dues structure, and the whole kit and caboodle.
The whole organization thing. So,
Yeah.
one of the things I think people miss out on are the opportunities to connect with and utilize the skill sets of our senior community. And sometimes our senior community doesn't realize there's a place for them or that there are things that they can do. What are some of the ways that you attempt to engage seniors who are politically savvy or have community concerns? Let's just put it that way, community concerns. What are some of the things that you guys do to encourage seniors to be involved in the political process?
Well, of course, we got to put this within the framework of the pandemic, because the
Sure,
pandemic
of course.
hit everybody, all organizations really hard, and
Yeah,
it particularly hit our senior organizations because older folks are not the most computer savvy group out there, believe me. And when we weren't able to hold actual in-person meetings, it took a real hit on the senior
sure.
caucus being able to get together and the Alliance for Retired Americans and all that kind of stuff. But uh, me and my fellow officers had been planning on in late 2019, and we're going to try it again very soon. We're going to start going around to all 92 counties and
Oh,
meet with the local Democratic Party structure and try to introduce them to the senior caucus and get chapters set up and running. Uh, in fact, our bylaws they don't provide for counties. There's 92 counties. That's a lot. But we do provide for chapters to be formed in each congressional district. And I had a wonderful conversation the other day with the new 8th District Chair, Thomasina.
yep. That's
And
that's a firebrand right there.
yeah, and I had no idea. I knew her, I'd met her a couple times when she was running for office, and she turns out to be a big ally and is chomping at the bit to get a senior caucus chapter formed in her district. So I'm all excited about that. So we're going to be doing that just directly to try and get folks involved. But then we also do all the kind of things that other constituency groups do. Um, uh, we One of the things that we do, maybe in part because of our histories and our involvement over the years, is I know for me, I've always recognized the importance of the judiciary, and some of our folks up here, seniors in Allen County, worked really hard. along with a lot of other folks, I should say that. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like we take all the credits, but we were a little piece of it, to replace a retired Superior Court judge in Allen County with Lori Morgan,
Okay.
who is the first African American female to be a Superior Court judge in Allen County. And she sent us a real nice, to the senior caucus, sent us a real nice note, uh, saying how, how much she thanked us for our work, which really overstated the case. Like I said, we were only a tiny piece, but there are so many areas where we need improvement. It's not just legislation or who's the latest crazy Republican Secretary of State. There's just all
They just seem to kind of line up following each other, don't they?
Yeah.
Because if the
Yeah.
if the Elvis impersonator didn't get you,
Yeah, yeah. Letters to the editor, op-eds. I've been very lucky. I have some friends at the Journal Gazette here locally that I've built up over decades. In
Good.
fact, and they tend to publish just about anything I write. And before I went online to talk to you today, I'm in the middle of writing something on Richard Trumka and human rights in the workplace and so on. And I expect that to be published fairly soon. We do direct lobbying. In 2018, I was in Washington, D.C. for a UAW conference,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of broke away from some of the other stuff I had to do that day, and I met with Andre Carson and his staff in Indy, and that led to a lot of conversations that ultimately led to an awards banquet that we held in the summer of 2018 in Fort Wayne on behalf of diversity and community service, and
Nice.
the fellow we gave the award to was Representative Andre Carson.
Oh man, that's dope. Well, he's by far one of the best ever.
Oh,
you know,
you can't ask for better.
No,
you can't ask for better.
And it's not just like how he conducts himself as a congressman. It's the fact that literally, people are able to send him a message and he responds. Right? Not none of this. Well, I'm not going to even respond to my constituents. I'm not going to talk to him. He shows up. He physically shows up. Sometimes he brings his daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like, this man is about the community, and that's why I like him. I mean,
well, he keeps getting better too. His grandmother had this seat.
Yeah.
And when she died and he ran, and I had met him a couple of times, and I knew people that knew him, and at the time it was kind of like, he's not his grandmother.
Well, but I mean, of course not.
But what's spectacular is he just keeps getting better and better and better. I mean, at everything, in his public speaking, in his knowledge of issues, and his advocacy for people, and it just goes on and on and on. He really is extraordinary. We are so lucky.
We're very lucky to have him. Like him. So I love that, because a lot of times these organizations out here, they want to do a letter writing campaign, or they want to do, I think about Moms Demand Action. They do a lot of letter writing campaigns. Do you encourage other groups to come and utilize your team and your force of bodies?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That it's all about teamwork. I mean, that's the only way I think we've ever gotten anything done of value, at least throughout my life politically, is when people came together.
Right.
It's kind of like we're all, and it's one of my biggest criticisms right now. You've got all these people, and they're all in their little silos or whatever it is, whether it's the Sierra Club, or civil rights groups and seniors and Democrats and this and that and the other thing. And when we come together and start working together and talking together and making sure, that we're not doing our events on the same day in the same place, and all these other things that happen because we don't talk together. But when we get together and work as a team, that's when we kick ass. That's the way it's always been, as long as there's been human civilization, and certainly in my lifetime, that's when we made progress.
Absolutely.
When, it wasn't just that person's issue.
Absolutely.
It was our issue too.
And the thing is, what I like, you, even though, like, you mentioned silos, right? You just mentioned silos. And how I like to frame it is, there is something that you're passionate about there's something that you feel, deep down inside your heart. Like it might be the environment over LGBTQ plus rights, over something else, right? But there is still a way for you to be involved with what you care about and still influence policies that impact people through, because I think that's the part that people forget. We can be as loud and as whatever we want to be on Twitter or on Facebook, but if we don't put ourselves in a position to change the people who are writing policies, we're going to be in the same boat.
Oh yes, oh yes. It's that personal. It's the personal connection, and
Yeah.
even though we're in a bizarre period, I've never seen this. I've never seen anything like this. But and you got these crazies, and Lord knows how many they really make up, and how many because Republicans, come on, how many Republicans are part of this Trump train and craziness, and they're participating in the rolling civic power outages. I know there are still all kinds of what I call classic Republicans, Republican classic, like classic Coke, uh, that are outraged.
I'm certain some of our viewers have no idea.
Yeah, Republican classic that are outraged by all this, but they're afraid to speak up.
Speak up, and that's the part I don't understand. What are you afraid of? Listen. Everybody has their own level of personality and comfort level with speaking up on issues. So I'm not getting ready to like disparage people, but the idea that when you know something is not right, and you don't have to be loud and vocal, but you can be a part of the change, and that's what we're talking about, right? We can be a part of the change.
Well, when you talk to them, when you get to know them, and you actually learn to get, when you hear about like when Biden talks about the way things used to be, and he talks about a real time in politics when Republicans and Democrats, if you look at the Republican and Democratic Party on this kind of spectrum, you have the left and the right. But, there was a time not that long ago, and certainly when I was much younger, where there was huge overlap in the two parties.
Yeah.
Huge overlap on all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
Certainly on the far right, that was the zone of the Republicans, and the far left was the zone of the Democratic Party. But in the middle, there was huge overlap, and that's where actual things got done.
Yeah.
They weren't perfect. They weren't what we might have wanted on the left, but they were good.
Yeah.
That was good legislation that moved the bar forward toward what Martin Luther King used to go on about the arc of
justice. And the thing of it is like, I know young people get out here and I'm not saying this as a negative. They believe they have all the brand new ideas. Yeah. They do, and because I was one of them, right? We, it's all new, and
well, we all were, yes.
Yeah, we were all like that, right? We all thought we had the freshest, newest idea that's been around for 40 years, right? That's how it goes. And the reason why I wanted to bring this caucus forward was because even if you think you have a new idea, some of our seasoned activists, because they didn't all just disappear. I do wonder where that big what was it? Why am I having a brain freeze at the moment? I wonder where the Woodstock people went. I
think about that a lot because I am part of that generation.
Yeah, where'd they go?
Well,
the
honestly,
weed smokers, the free love.
Yeah, I know. What happened to all that? I think the reality is, Dana, that it was never that big to begin with.
Okay.
There was a lot of press and movies and television and stuff, and because of things like particularly the civil rights movement and certainly the war in Vietnam, that there was a lot of emphasis on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those young people at that time were nowhere near as a demographic group as progressive as people might have thought, or that I might have thought. An interesting thing related to today, and whether or not young people today will save the world, or any young people will ever save the world. And I got the right to vote. I turned 18 and got the right to vote. primarily thanks to a guy by the name of Birch Bayh and his constitutional
Hello, come on.
amendment. Yes, in 1972. And uh, I thought I was going to go to Vietnam, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen for me. But the reason that Richard Nixon got into trouble, really, the reason he got into trouble was because he was convinced that these young people that were causing such a racket were going to promote a candidacy like George McGovern in 1972 and chase him out of office. Well, the reality was nothing like that ever came close to happening.
No.
Nixon won in a landslide.
Right.
Young people never had the power we thought we had.
Right.
And the reason was, and I'm sorry to say this, the reason was it's not about that group of young people or this group of young people. There's something about being young. It is so hard to motivate young people to get involved because it's the nature of young people to want to party on the weekend. It's the nature of young people to, when you probe them, what's the thing you want? Oh, I want a new car, or if you get, even if they're newly married, oh, we want a new dining room set. Oh, we need a new house. The old one. Oh, look at that new one.
Yeah, the other things are motivating them. I mean, again, I was one of those young people that had no clue about anything. Luckily for me, the melanin is strong with this one, and I still look relatively young. Except for that gray hair.
I like that.
Except for that gray hair. But I'm excited about it because you guys have an opportunity now to bestow your wisdom and your experiences on.
What happens to people? To people is you get older, you reach a certain point where you have kids, and suddenly your focus starts to change, and you start thinking about, I want to do something for my kids. What can I do for my kids? And suddenly the new car and the new set, the new dining room furniture, or whatever it was that you were dreaming of, you thought you wanted, that were kind of like extensions of the toys you wanted as kids, and the good time you wanted to have on a Friday night. Suddenly you start thinking about other things because you now have kids. And as you get older, that continues to build, that kind of thinking, well, I really like those things that I wanted when I was younger, but there's other things that I'm more interested in now. And of course, by the time you become old enough to retire, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got these aches and pains, and I've got this new thing that my parents had, this new illness, and what is this all about? And am I going to be able to retire and live? And will I have health insurance? And and of course, again, when you're young, you think, oh, you're never going to get sick, because you don't when you're young. And all these things start pressing on you, and you start thinking, I've got to change my focus. Mm-hmm. And that's why. I always pass out a handout from Fort Wayne, because I have fairly easy access to Fort Wayne voting data. And the Journal-Gazette up here in Fort Wayne did a study of the municipal election in 2015. And in 2015, seniors as a group turned out and voted 3 times higher than young people, meaning 18 to 34 or something like that. 3 times higher. I mean,
that's why they court senior voters, because you actually go to the polls, right?
They vote, yeah.
So I mean, and I know young people get frustrated because they're like, why are all of these older people writing these policies? Well, they're the ones that are getting out and voting. And if you want things to change and you want things to be different, you have to en masse get your homies together and make it happen. I think what IYD is doing here in the state of Indiana is like top notch. I get excited about everything that organization is doing, because they've got young people excited in all 92 counties. I have never seen anything like that. I think the work that they're doing is amazing. I would love to see like a partnership, like a pseudo partnership between the senior caucus and the young Dems, and bring some of that together and be like the mentor pupil kind of thing, and that goes both ways, right? It doesn't just mean that the seniors are.
Oh yes, and I am looking forward to that too. I was very disappointed with some of the decisions that came out of the Rules Committee affecting, not just us as senior caucus. We're just fine, whether we get recognized or not. It's not going to put a damper on what we do day to day. But some of the folks who don't like the caucuses really went after some of the other groups like IDAC and the Latino caucus and the YDs. And it was really sad. Now, I was at our last French lick at IDEA in the summer of
19.
2019.
Yeah.
and I went to the YD's hospitality room and joined them, and we were all kind of
That's if you're not on the porch.
drowning in our beer.
Yeah. Well, what happens in French Lick stays in French Lick. And if you know what, if you wasn't on the porch, you was in the YD suite.
Yeah.
But
I think that desire of the caucuses to want to work together, young and old and black and white and Latino and is very strong. If there is opposition to any of that, it's not coming from the caucuses themselves.
No,
from other folks.
No, and you know what, and we can't worry about what they don't, who the arbitrary theys are. It doesn't matter.
No.
We are a big tent, and there's a place for everybody with all kinds of demographic makeups to be a part of this political process. And so I which is probably why I get in trouble sometimes. I don't get in trouble no more because I'm grown, but that's why people get a little upset with me, because I don't in a lot of cases go along to get along, because I agree with the vast majority of who we are as an organization, but if I see something that's not right, I should be able to speak up and people not be all in their feelings about it. But people gonna do what they do, and I'm gonna be who I be, and that's what I mean. We can't let other people knock us off our mark. We gotta just be who we are and be strident in that. We can't let that. We can't let naysayers stop the glorious thing that we're doing by bringing people into the tent.
Oh yeah, the more we work on that in Indiana, the better chance we have to genuinely change. Let me tell you do we have, how much time do we got?
We got about 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Let me just tell you a little bit about how, my moving from one state to another. I grew up in a blue state in Wisconsin. And like most people, you tend to think that things are the same everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved to Indiana, I thought, people would say, well, Indiana is not quite like Wisco. And I was, oh, come on. Any place that's got a Walmart on the corner or a McDonald's, it's all the same place. It's all America, right? Well, the devil's in the details. And Indiana didn't used to be this way.
No, it didn't.
For some time now, Indiana has been like this giant red finger sticking up into the blue.
What they call it, the middle finger of the South?
Yeah, sticking up into the upper Midwest, which is mostly blue. And if there's anything that was really different, I could go on and on and on. Really different about my experiences within the Democratic Party and the way it functioned in Wisconsin and the Democratic Party in Indiana, it's that sense of inclusion.
Yeah.
It's not just diversity. Someone once said to me, the difference between diversity and inclusion is diversity is being invited to the prom, inclusion is being asked to dance. And I think that the Indiana Democratic Party continues to fall short on that inclusion. And if it gets its act together, it can be anything it wants to be. If you get up in an airplane and you drive over the Midwest, you don't see any of these borders you see on maps. And there's no reason why Indiana should be red at all. No reason at all, other than stubbornness and tradition
and y'all, that was from a senior white dude. I mean, that's all I'm saying. If the advice is good, y'all need to listen to it. Yo, Indiana's own Dana Black. Thank you so much, Randy, for coming on, and I'm gonna have you back because there are some other topics I want to talk to you about. Would you mind coming back and talking to me on
I
Turner?
would love to. I think a great show, and you are incredible.
I would love to bring you on with my guy, which I know My Labor Radio, Mark.
He's an old pal. I go way back.
I would love to see the three of us just kind of chop it up because we have, we know how to we know how to have a good conversation. I'd love to have that happen. So, but thank you so much for joining in today. I really do appreciate the conversation, and I'm definitely going to bring you back. All right, Indiana's own Dana Black. Let me first, before I sign off tonight, Randy mentioned something about how the caucuses want to work together a little while ago. Well, mark your calendars, save the date. October 2nd, and down in Bloomington, Monroe County, we are going to have our third annual, and it might be the fourth, I can't even remember, Power of the Black and Brown Vote. So mark your calendars. It will be October the 2nd from 2 to 4 p.m. In Bloomington City Hall. Come out. If you've ever been to one, it has been great conversations. And this year will be different because guess what? Black Pearl Studios is going to stream it live, baby. We're going to stream it live. So if you can't drive down to Bloomington, but I expect, as many Bloomingtonites to be in the building. But we're going to live stream it so that you can hear the conversations. And we're going to invite some guests that'll be coming from different corners of the state to have that conversation. But it is definitely going down October 2nd. Also, remember, IDAC is hosting their annual dinner. October 28th. Hold on, let me look at my calendar. Hold on. Don't go nowhere. It'll be October the 23rd. October 23rd, and that's going to be in Anderson. October 23rd, IDAC annual fundraiser. All right, one last thing before I sign off, because I've already gone over. I want to give a huge shout out to Hoosier Women Forward. This week, they announced their 4th class, and I'm telling you, that is a group of women I'd be down with every day. Y'all know how much I love that organization. That is the ultimate women's empowerment Democratic Party space. Whether you want to be a candidate or just a supporter, this is the place where women cultivate who they are and how they can be of service to fellow Hoosiers. So congratulations to Hoosier Women Forward and churning out and continuing to put in this work. To the Amy's, y'all doing the thing, and I am so proud to be a part of it in spirit, just being there and being able to hype y'all up, because anytime we can get more women involved, and Randy knows he already said it, inclusive, we can get more women involved. When women are at the table, the conversation changes. All right, Indiana's on Dana Black. Listen, it's the summertime, so if y'all don't see me next week, don't trip. We got plenty of time, and once the election comes up, and the election cycle, and more people start announcing that they're running, trust me, you'll see like 8 people that'll be on every week. I'll always have some folks for us to talk to and chop it up about this thing. I'm looking to schedule Miss Rima Shahid come on soon so she can talk about what Women for Change are working on. And again, I'm going to bring on Jocelyn Vare, Councilwoman Jocelyn Vare out of Fisher, so we can talk about what the heck this CRT thing is in Hamilton County. All right. I will talk to y'all next time. Be sure to stay safe. Cover your mask. Get vaccinated. Do what you got to do. Love on your kids. I know they going back to school. And I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.